so many bad books to read.
Welcome in to Bad Reads Book Club. I am Nurse Huckleberry, your host. We're doing this live on Twitch, but it will be on YouTube later. So you can go look at it there. This is the book.
Okay, just back up.
Yeah, this is the book that I read. When the Facts Lady Sings by Leslie O'Kane, a Molly Masters mystery. This book was written in 2001. It is a whopping 246 pages. Let me just read you the back real quick. Dress rehearsal for the PTA fundraiser is at its chaotic peak when one of the 7 identical clowns cavorting on stage pulls out a gun and shoots the director Corinne. Molly Masters, also dressed as a clown, is a stunned and baffled witness to the killing. She wonders which of her fellow performers, all of them respectable parents and teachers, can conceivably be a murderer. The rumor is that Corinne and her old boyfriend split up and that she had just confessed to sexual involvement with a student. Soon, Molly knows more dirty little school secrets than she would care to, and more than enough to send a desperate killer back into action. So this is like a classic whodunit kind of situation where there's like a whole cast of potential killers, and then the protagonist has to whittle her way down, figure out who did the killing. So Molly Masters, who it's all set in her perspective. She is the protagonist. She's a cartoonist who's 42 and has 2 kids. And I don't understand. This is like a small town situation where the elementary school is like right next to the high school, and I guess they have one PTA for everything. Because all these people are in the PTA, and she's in the PTA, and every other parent in the PTA has high school children, and she has, like, 8th grade. Well, she has an 8th grader and, like, a 5th grader. And I'm like, all right, like, I don't feel like that's the same PTA, but I don't know. I've never been to a PTA meeting, so how would I know? So basically, they're all dressed up in these clown costumes. It's a variety show fundraiser for the PTA. I don't know what the fundraiser was for. For the PTA? It doesn't really say what the money was going to be used for other than like students. Anyways, so there's a variety show they're putting on, and one of the acts is supposed to have a whole bunch of clowns, all of them looking the same, piling out of a clown car situation, right? And then this is following, there was a magic act that was supposed to happen before, and then the clowns come out after. And they're doing the full dress rehearsal, and there's like a lady who's like, I'm the magician's assistant, and they're like, get in the box. And she's like, ooh, ooh. She gets in a box, and then they're like, we need a volunteer from the audience. And so they grab a volunteer from the audience who is the director of the whole situation. They put her in the box. And then someone in one of these 7 identical clown costumes walks up and just bang, 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 fucking shoots the box in front of everyone. And then they like, I don't know, run off and then like go back around stage, and they're like, oh no, who could have shot the lady in the box? And there's only 2 people who are safe and not suspects. Our lead lady, Molly, because the killer stole her red gloves that she was supposed to have. She's looking everywhere for her gloves, can't find them. The killer had taken her gloves, used them to shoot the gun, and then threw them on the ground. But there was a witness in the audience for the dress rehearsal, and they saw that the killer had gloves on, and Molly was the only one without gloves. So obviously they weren't the killer. And the other person would be the magician's assistant in the box, right? So they were in the box. So they couldn't get shot either. Anyways, it's like very traumatic because this whole group of people has someone shot like right before their eyes. But, you know, that's cool. Anyways, there's this book. As I said, 246 pages. There's an ungodly number of characters in this book. I did a quick count to try and figure out, and my best guess was there was 23 characters that were all relatively important to the storyline and got brought up more than once.
23?
23 characters in 250 pages that were important to the story. We've got Molly and Jim and Nathan and Karen and Lauren and Tommy and Rachel and Nadine and Corinne and Dave and Jack and Elspeth and Tamara and Danielle and Brian and Stephanie and Tiffany and Chester and Jasper and Olivia and Jenny and Martin. All of them had important things happen. And now, so the potential suspects are Nadine, Elspeth, Danielle, Chester, Dave, and Olivia. And almost all of them, there's like 4 of them that have children who are all competing to be valedictorians. And so half of the people, you have like these parents who are all fighting with each other, and like one of the people that's like a potential suspect is the secretary for the high school, and she's been like accepting bribes to sell transcripts and like adjust transcripts and stuff, and like kind of pitting parents against each other to like make money on the side. And she also has a vintage doll making side gig thing, and that's a whole thing. There's a lot of creepy dolls in the book. And then so they're all like, oh, my kid is gonna be valedictorian, and they're all duking it out trying to get them all to be valedictorian. And like there's like a whole scheme about which teachers are the easiest graders for like the highest GPA value. It's very convoluted, and they get mad at each other like, your kid can't date my kid, and then you have to be like, who is Brian's mom? Like which one's Brian? Who is his mom? Why does they? Oh right, Brian's the one that slept with the teacher, but now he's dating Jenny.
What?
Yeah, now he's dating Jenny. And Jenny's mom, Olivia, she owns a gallery, and she's like, maybe she's the killer because she owns the only gallery in town, and and she's mad at the Corinne, the lady who got killed, because she was dating the art teacher and a student, and the art teacher was like selling things for her gallery. I don't know. And they're all going, and so everyone's like, Molly, you're the only innocent one we know. And they're all coming to her and telling their sides of the story. This book, most of it takes place on the fucking phone and driving all around town. Go 1 second, I'll be right back. Let me just take this over here. It's on the phone. The whole thing, most of this book, they're just calling each other at 10. Molly, can you come do this? Molly, can you come do that? And then there's this whole freaking B plot. There's a whole B plot about her, one of the parents that was also a clown, that's also a suspect, whose kid, he's a contractor, and he's like, my kid's gonna be valedictorian, and all you guys suck, and like, yeah, the kid of the contractor is gonna beat all your kids out, blah, blah, blah. The kid doesn't even care.
What with the kids?
I know, he's gonna win. He's gonna win. Oh. And so he's like building a freaking sunroom for Molly, and there's this whole B plot about how he's just doing a shitty job at building her a sunroom. Like an ongoing long B plot, how he's like pushing off the date to start multiple times. And then they like, oh, we're gonna build you a sunroom. And they just remove her deck for no reason, and then they like cut a hole in her wall, they like ruined electricity and all these things. And it was like, oh great, yeah, we needed that. Some notable moments The car bomb. There was Molly gets a bomb put in her car.
What?
Yeah, because she's nosing around, so somebody puts a bomb in her car. Someone else gets shot. The killer strikes again and shoots one of the parents to keep her from, because they were like the only one that knew a clue about what had happened. And so they were like, oh, gotta keep them quiet. So they just like fucking kill him. They sloppily try and make it look like a suicide by shooting her in the kitchen and then dragging their body into their car and like trying to do like the car exhaust suicide thing. But like,
Is anyone keeping up?
it makes no sense. And then, okay, so it goes like the rehearsal. There's a shooting. Then they have a big PTA meeting. Then it's career day, and she's a cartoonist, so she's at the high school drawing cartoons. And then she like gets a couple kids, you know, she's like, oh, Tiffany, oh, Jasper, like maybe you guys should talk. And then they start dating, and Tiffany's mom is really upset that Tiffany's seeing Jasper now. Ew, gross. And so like now she's the bad guy because she got Tiffany and Jasper together, and that's like, ew. And then on top of that, right, she's like hanging out in this classroom in between periods because she's got to wait around for the next class to start to help out with career day. And she finds some kids sneaking into the classroom, and she's like, hey, why are you sneaking in? And they're like, oh, we had something to do in here we were given these keys. We did not steal them. And she's like, give me the keys. You clearly stole them. And they were like, we weren't coming to make out on that couch. And so then there's this whole thing about like, where did the kids get the keys? How did they get the keys? All this stuff. She goes over to the lady with the dolls, and there's like there's a whole creepy dollhouse thing, and then they make a link between two people that is never referred to again. She ends up, the guy that was the magician, she ends up being his assistant for a failure of a show at a hospital of like for kids. Then the other parent's murdered. Then there's a funeral for the first lady who was murdered. Then the daughter of the parent who was murdered is like threatening to commit suicide in the middle of a field. Oh my God.
What the hell was that?
Chestnuts. Oh no.
Did you explode a chestnut?
A chestnut definitely exploded. It's the car bomb. Oh God.
Wait, did you seriously explode a chestnut in the oven?
Like, you can see all the chestnut everywhere.
Here.
I want to keep it closed because I'm worried about another one exploding. But
Well, we need to see. Okay. Wow.
there were no white bits there before.
No, that's an exploded chestnut.
Okay, so, whew, little distraction. So, all right, let's see what else happened. So one of the teenagers, her mom that got shot, she's like, I'm gonna commit suicide. Meanwhile, the mom was like a horrible parent, and she had like the kid, oh God, there's so many things. There was so much to keep track of. The teenager, Jenny, her dad had like died when she was 1, and he was rich. And so she had her whole inheritance, right? But then it turns out that there's a clause in the inheritance that her entire college tuition is to be paid for with this inheritance, right? So if she ends up going to a high-level school, it's going to be expensive. And whatever's left over after the tuition is paid, that gets split in half between the mom and the daughter. So the mom is literally sabotaging her so that she has a lower GPA so that she can't get into Harvard because it'd be less money for her in the end if she goes to a high-level school. So she's like just like the worst, right?
How did all of this fit in the book?
I don't know. It was so confusing. Like, you're just constantly, it's switching between characters. Everything's happening on the phone. Like, the writer was just like, how do I fit all this stuff in? What if the main character has 0 life and is only on the phone or driving between locations? Like, I wish I went through and counted the number of times she changes locations, because within a single day, she'll drive to 4 or 5 different locations. And I'm like, this is so difficult to keep track of. And all these people are constantly coming to her house. If she's not driving somewhere, they're coming to her house. And so there's just a constant flow of new information all crammed in super tight. And half of it is useless. She doesn't even figure out who the killer is. There's no clues that tell you who the killer is. You as an individual cannot figure it out, because how do they finally decide to flush out the killer? They're like, hey, let's host another PTA meeting, right? And so they host another PTA meeting and they invite all of the suspects. And then she goes, I think that we should figure out once and for all who the suspect is, who the killer is. And I think that I should be hypnotized by the police. And then maybe, because the killer bumped into me, so maybe I could remember who it was from being hypnotized. And her goal was to like see when she said it, if anyone reacted. No one reacted until Dave, the art teacher who apparently did the killing, takes her hostage outside of her house and tries to drag her out into a field to kill her, and all the cops show up. And then he doesn't get to kill her. And that's the end of the book. It was upsetting. I was so upset because, and look at this! The name of the book is When the Fax Lady Sings. There was no singing! No singing! There was a lot of piano playing.
Well, what do you rate the book?
Probably like a 2 out of 5. It was too much information crammed into too small of a space. 23 characters to keep track of. It was very difficult. Like, I wanted to like write down who all was who, and then it made me upset because you weren't even given the information that could let you suss out who the killer was until the killer revealed themselves.
Okay, I think that's the end of the book review.
Also 0 out of 5 for Spies. Guys, I hope you don't mind if I don't use the chestnuts. Oh, that's right, I didn't mention Molly Mathers. Her job, she's a cartoonist that makes faxable greeting cards. And so she doesn't do any faxing. She just makes greeting cards. But my question is, aren't all greeting cards faxable? Like, can't you just fax? Like, I mean, you could just put it in a copier and you could fax it. Like, it seems very weird. She's always trying to like work on her greeting cards, and then she can never get any work done, probably because she's always on the phone or leaving the fucking house.
Wait, are you just gonna leave the chestnuts in the oven?
Yes.
Bad books, bad books. I've got so many bad books to read.